everyone, and welcome to Total Football Talk. I'm Anthony.
Seriously? Is that you, Anthony?
Yeah. Hey, I made an appearance.
Hold on. Let me try to poke you. Hold on. Oh, it is! Hey, guys, I'm Eric.
So, we've been really waiting for a lot of things to kind of unfold. And Eric and I have gotten into a long conversation. And Eric's where I'm at now, but hasn't been. So, this show's going to be about 30 minutes long. We're going to talk a little bit about how we got where we are, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to do instead. Now, I had mentioned earlier in the week when I did my little preview show that I think a man's word is his bond. And if he can't keep his word, then he has no real value. I had said a long time ago that if the NFL continued to be to the point where all we were talking was politics on the show, that I wouldn't be able, in good conscience, be able to continue the show, period. Football's not meant to be political. Somebody forgot to tell Roger Goodell and the NFL athletes that very point. The Redskins changing their name was the final nail in the coffin that just made me go, okay. So, from somebody who's followed the sport since 1983, I often say 84, but really the Rams played New England in 83, and that was the first game I saw. So since 83, rather, this was not an easy decision. You know about my depth knowledge of the game and how much I've studied this sport. I'm not watching the NFL ever again. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to listen to a divisive anthem or a separate anthem for one skin color and another anthem for the rest of us. I believe in a United States of America. I believe in Martin Luther King's dream, and although I wasn't born in the 60s, we had a civil rights movement to end separation by color. And now, in 2020, we've got people within those same movements who are trying to create two separate worlds once again. I'm not going to support it. Not behind it. So football died in 2020. The last Super Bowl for me was Chiefs against the San Francisco 49ers, Super Bowl 54. I have no use for what they're going to be putting on that field. It's already been a watered-down product for a lot of years, and we're going to prove it. And I'm going to explain how we're going to prove it later. This product has become so watered down. It has been so pussified. It has been so feminized. It has been so social justice warriorized that the mere name Redskins, which, now this is a history teacher talking, was a term used by the United States military in the 1790s and early 1800s in describing the fear that the troops should have about the native warriors that they were fighting. That these people would wear your own blood as their skin. It was never meant as a derogative term. It was only meant in a way to make their soldiers understand the enemy that they were fighting was fierce, and despite not having the same technology and weaponry, were every bit as dangerous as the British with who they had fought back in the Revolutionary War. That's it. I work on the reservation as a teacher, and the school is 50-50. Half of those kids are either Redskin fans or Dallas Cowboy fans. You got a couple Patriot fans sprinkled in there, but that's it. It's either Redskins or Cowboys. And considering that the African American community never once reached out to see what the natives thought, And I'm sure people will post articles, this native said this native said that. I'm sorry, show me the statistic that says 60% of natives in the country who watch football are offended by the name. We made a decision to ban an organization's name because it was insulting to a group of people we never asked. We never got their opinion on the matter. We just said, it's because we know better than you do. I'm done. You took my Redskins away from me. And yes, I'm a Rams fan. But that was my second favorite team. Many of you on this show knew that. You took the Redskins away from me through a lie. You didn't even take it away from me legitimately. You took it away from me based on a lie. A lie that it was an offensive name. A lie that the natives were somehow mortally offended by the mere mention of the name. A lie that you then perpetrated through social media, through mainstream media, and then told me that since you're not going to capitulate, we're just going to steal it from you. A lot of the natives that I've talked to are upset because that was the only representation other than the Kansas City Chiefs in football that they had in professional football. That was it. And the reason the Redskins were so dear and not the Chiefs is the Redskins symbol, and this is from natives now, so I want you to listen to this. For those of you that are African American out there that were for this movement, for those of you that are white social justice warriors out there who were for this decision, for those of you that like to claim that it was racist but you never watched a down of football in your life, let me tell you what the Native Americans said about the Washington Redskins. They said the following. It was a sense of pride for them. The Redskins' colors were based off the Native American medicine wheel, and the Indian head was actually constructed by a local tribe down in Washington that the original owner in 1932 sought the advice of and wanted something that was authentic, that wasn't offensive. So the natives told him, make this your colors, make this your symbol, and they gave him the design, and they said, you'll have our support. And that's exactly what he did. And the Redskins have been around ever since. But leave it to 2020, where people like to overreact over everything, where the loud mouth, small portion belief system in this country thinks they can just bully people all over the place and get what they demand rather than what the people want. And you know what? Shame on the silent majority. When you stay silent, you lose your stuff. Hopefully 2020 teaches us a valuable lesson. Don't be so silent. Because the squeaky wheel, it definitely gets the grease. So the NFL made an announcement that they are fully social justice warrior. They've gone full retard, to quote Tropical Thunder. They've gone full retard. So I'm done. I'm done. Now, my journey didn't take 10 minutes. I'm going to let Eric talk, and when he's done, we're going to tell you what we're going to do. Because when you're created a problem or given a problem, there are two types of people in this world. There are those that fix the problem and build something better, or there's those that like to cry, stumble, and fumble, and complain, and bitch and moan to everybody that'll listen, oh, woe is me. See, we might be done with the NFL, but we're not done with the NFL. Teaser. Eric, why don't you go ahead and share your journey?
Well, my journey isn't as drastic of a change as what Anthony is proposing himself, and I would never ask him to betray his own word. We talked long and hard about all the topics, and 2020 has really taught us a valuable lesson. Basically, you got to weed through the BS to get to where you want to go and what you want to find out. A lot of BS going on in 3 of the 4 major sports. Anthony mentioned the Black National Anthem being played week 1 before the games start. Most likely players kneeling, which will probably happen. And listen, this is obviously not the first time it's happened. And Kaepernick started it, whatever. It kind of went off from there, and then it faded away. And then I happened to be sitting at Soldier Field on a 95-degree Sunday afternoon with my nephew, who's a Steelers fan, and we're watching the Bears and Steelers. Well, on that 95-degree sweltering day, we start hearing whispers throughout the stands of players either kneeling or not coming out for the national anthem. And we're like, what the heck? Like, come out. This is America. You honor, you stand for the flag, you show respect. Because I will stand up no matter where I am in the stadium, stop. Trying to stop midstream will suck sometimes, but you got to do what you got to do. And so, we're sitting there. I actually took a picture of myself standing for the national anthem because I will continue to do so. And then that kind of went for a couple weeks, and then it faded, comes back, fades, and now 2020 hits. And it's like, well, we already know what we're going to do because that's what they said they're going to do. And if they don't do it, they're going to get called out and look like little kids in the media. And they don't want that. They have an image to protect. But they should do it. Protect what's right. You're starting to do, in the air, out the other. So I'm not where Anthony is at yet. And Anthony said, he started getting into football, the Rams-Patriot game in 83 and then in the 84. I was born in 80. And my first season that I remember, mainly for the playoffs, is the 85 Bears season. And so after that, it was like, oh, wow, football, I'm hooked. But I never played football. I just watched it, analyzed it, called the game in college. I was always a baseball fan. Well, let's forward to baseball right now. What's baseball doing? Oh, we're going to put a mural of BLM on the mound, back to the mound. We're also going to kneel for the national anthem. And it's like, the sport that I love so much, that'll always be there, that I thought will always be there for me, is not there. They would rather tackle issues and lose fans that they're already losing over this. And they started late. The CBA expires next year. I don't need to go into too much baseball, but you got to see where I'm coming from. Baseball may lose even more fans next year, especially if the players strike, because they already had like a big back and forth with the commissioner on when games started. Basketball, they're in a bubble in Orlando. They're putting BLM on the courts. They're putting whatever they want on their jerseys. It's like, you can go out. You can go out to the community, and you can actually do a lot more that way than just putting some saying on your jersey. The NFL is going to put stickers on their jersey or on their helmets. It's getting to the point where I have gone this far, and I actually have the opening night Yankees-Nationals game on just for a little background noise. But I want to see how it was. There's no fans in the stands. It's quiet as all heck. And it's like, is this what baseball is going to do for the rest of the season? I went March through July with no sports. And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing right now. As big as a sports fan as I am, and I can talk for Anthony right here as well, as big as a sports fan, football fan that he was, I did not miss it.
Nope.
Did not.
Nope.
Did I? It showed me, and this is a personal decision, but it showed me, and Anthony actually made the decision too, but it showed me that when I move, I can cut the cord and I won't worry about it.
Yeah.
And what no sports has showed, because sports was the first to go, pretty much the last to come back, what it showed me is that they're more worried about what people want to think of them and not put fans in the stands or gain any fans in a time when they could have easily gained fans, that they'd rather put their issues first.
Right. And that's my point, is sports was supposed to be, and always was, a concept that would bring people together from any political perspective, from any walk of life, from any aspect. Black, white, Mexican, native, didn't matter. We all came together for the one common thing. And sports was there for us to do that. They're not there for us.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you like the same team that you were sitting next to the guy with there. You know, me and Anthony would rag on each other when the Bears played the Rams. Oh, you see that play? Oh.
Yep.
But it was the camaraderie. It was the, hey, we're watching both our teams. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who wins, even though I'd rather have my team win, of course, and he would rather have his team win.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always good conversation. It was always, hey, they score a touchdown here, I'll get you a beer, I'll buy you a beer or something like that, you know? And, you know, just one of those things you could laugh over, you could enjoy with each other. And then at the end of the day, you go home and be like, hey, we had a great time at the game. We had a great time watching the game at home.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even do that now.
No. That's the sad part. And it's unnecessary. Because now it's somebody doesn't want to sit for the anthem. The person next to him may be sitting for the anthem, and now it's going to turn into a big political argument the entire game. Or, you know, the relationship that could have been formed in that seat is now going to be a hostile one or a cold one at best. Football abandoned the fans. And for all the talk about how important we were to the sport, at least for half of us, they would rather capitulate to the group that doesn't go to their games, that doesn't understand their sport, that had facilitated all these changes for the worst. I just don't want to be a part of it anymore. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you you shouldn't watch. And I'm not going to sit here, and I know Eric feels the same way. We're not going to sit here and say, you know, if you watch football, you're somehow a sellout, or you're this, or you're that. I'm sure there are people out there that are just as patriotic as me and Eric that have a different approach. Fine. Good on you. You be you. We'll be us. But what does that mean for the show? Well, you can get your football fix. You can watch your news. I'm sure there's other people on YouTube that do it too. And some of you may be like, well, they don't do it as good as you. Well, I appreciate the compliment. Others of you have made it clear in the comments that we suck, so this shouldn't be a big deal for you. But here's what we are going to do. Starting this year, starting in August, we're going to go back in a time machine. And we picked the year 1979 for a couple of reasons. It's the year I was born. And it's a good one of the... It's the final year before the NFL embarked on its greatest decade in history. And I can't think of a better example of where football once was, how it evolved properly, because there was a lot of rule changes from 79 into 80 and 81, and even 2 strikes in that decade, and it didn't hinder the decade's greatness. And the 70s concluded one of the most competitive, compelling decades in football history. But when I say that we're going back in a time machine, I'm going to give you an example. This is what we mean. Starting September 6th, I'm going to put in some old games. I'm going to put in a morning game, watch it in the morning. I'm going to wait until 1 o'clock, and then I'm going to put in the afternoon game. And then Eric and I are going to go through all the games that I have on DVD for week 1, which is more than 1, more than 2 actually. I think we have like 3 or 4. We're even going to do the Monday night game on Monday night. We're going to watch it. We're going to take the highlights. We're going to split them up. We're going to splice them up. and we're going to create a highlight package and do something kind of like a prime time, right, for those games for week 1. And then we're going to give a preview show just like we've been doing for week 2. I may know the outcomes, the overall outcome, but I'm not going to show it. We're going to do predictions. We're going to pick winners and losers just like we've done in the past. But we're going to do it based entirely off the 1979 season. And when the Super Bowl concludes on January 22nd or 20th, that's when our first season of this new show will officially end. We won't talk about 2020. When you tune into this show, you're going to be like, what in the heck? What are they talking about? But it'll be great for the casual fan, and it'll be great for the true football fan, because you get a chance to see real highlights, big hits, great plays from players that have either been ignored by the modern day football reporter or forgotten.
Let me just add, big hits without flags, because what happens when you see a big hit these days?
Yeah.
You automatically look for the flag. You ain't going to find one.
Nope. It's going to be...
You are not going to find one. And yeah, you know what? It's easy. It's easy to look up to see, who won that game. Okay? And, we could play that card. But the show wouldn't be fun.
No.
So I don't know the outcome of every single game. Okay? And, there's been quite a few posts, that I have seen and read that were like, Anthony, you should do some older games and talk about the older games. And I like when you talk about older games and, how it compares to Rams of this year or that year or whatever. This is for you guys.
Exactly. And what this show is going to be is it's going to be exactly what we've done the last 4 years, but in a time capsule for the 1979 season. I'm going to try to get Vince Ferragamo before on the show, and I'm going to interview him as if it's that time period right then and there in 1979. I'm not going to be like, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to ask Vince Ferragamo, hey, Vince, what was it like that year? Can you kind of walk me through what your thought? No. Hey, Vince, you're getting ready to play the Chicago Bears. You're injured. But how do you feel about your team's chances going in on Sunday? Do you think that you have enough guys healthy? Or is this up-and-coming Bear team really got you nervous? That's the kind of questions I'm going to ask. So it's really fascinating, I think, for you guys that are like wondering how this is going to work. Wrap your brain around what I'm telling you, because we're talking ESPN, hopefully not ESPN style, but ESPN type setup, highlights, commentary, discussion on the game and the two teams, and then and the cool thing is, we'll be able to do this in a shorter block of time than an hour, because we only have a couple games that we're going to be covering. Well, let me rephrase that. It might be it might still be an hour, but we'll go through the scores of the other games, but really show the highlights of others. And I plan on including graphics. I've got a guy that makes t-shirts that I'm talking to. We're going to get some t-shirts made. An example is going to be a blue shirt in yellow writing. It's going to say Los Angeles, not Rams because of copyright. And on the back, it's going to say R.I.P. Rosenblum. There's a Bear shirt, right? It's going to be a blue shirt, navy blue with orange Chicago. And it's going to say Life with AP is sweet. We're going to have one for all 28 NFL teams. Whatever your favorite team is, we'll have a shirt for you. And it's going to be like that every year with something updated. There'll be two options. You can have a blue shirt with yellow writing if you're a Ram fan, or you can have a yellow shirt with blue writing, depending on the color scheme that you want. There's going to be a website that you can go to order the shirt, and then we'll get some of that money. Obviously, the website's going to get some of that money. We're also going to set up a Venmo account so you guys can donate $1 if you like the show and you want to see us maybe do more or go into a little, continue the show going. because I want this to be fan-driven. And we want to be able to have money. Remember, I'm a teacher. I want to be able to have money to get these things made for you guys, and to improve the quality of the show. We're starting in 79. By the time we get to 1985, I would like this thing to not only be a fine oiled machine, but I want it to rival ESPN graphics of today, if not of today, certainly of then. I want people to go, man, I thought this was a real thing for a minute. I was like, wait, what year are we? That's my goal. To educate fans on how great those players actually were back then, but more importantly, how fun football once was. Because when you compare the old games to the new ones, it's not even close. You can miss me with this nonsense. These players today aren't better. They may be faster, but they're not bigger. They're not tougher, and they ain't better. And the league, because of the rules, was constructed in such a way that a guy like Tom Brady would have retired at 31 if he made it that far. No knock on Brady, but remember his little knee injury his third year in the league? That was a legal hit in the 1980s. And hopefully next year when you come back and you know that they're coming at your knees again, you don't go hiding in your shell. The NFL made a lot of boys into men. Today, the NFL has turned a lot of men into boys. And that's just the truth. Eric?
Yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting time, which means that this will be the third time that this show is rebranded.
Yep.
And this is something that is going to, I believe, feel that it's going to stick for a long time, longer than either of the other two shows have stuck around. And it's not your doing, it's not our doing. We have to change with the times, just like a lot of other people are changing with the times right now.
Yeah.
We're just changing and going into Doc Brown's time machine and heading back to a time where, hey, you know what? I know there's a few of you who have seen the '79 Rams, that have been around and watched the Rams and Steelers Super Bowl in '79. I can think of one person right off the top of my head right now, and that's Cliff.
Yep.
And I know there's others.
Yep.
So we're changing, but we're thinking of changing for the better.
Exactly.
And not going to continue to talk about the NFL in its present form.
Because it's too political. And we know there's going to be some fans that agree with the kneeling. There's going to be some fans, a lot of fans, but some fans. Well, let me just put it the way it is. There's going to be a lot of fans that agree with the kneeling. There's going to be a lot of fans that don't agree with the kneeling. And now we've got to insert our opinion on the matter and alienate half of the fan base, and that's not what this is about. So I would ask, if you are a true fan of football, or you are a true student of the game, or you want to learn more about the game of football, follow us down this journey. If you're like me and you're done with football, you don't have to be. You don't have to be done with football. You could be done with football today, but walk with me down memory lane. Because the 2020 season is going to be based on the 1979 season. And next year, we're going to go into 1980. And the following year after that, we're going to go into 81. And then 82 and 83 for as long as we can go. Because, guys, my library is extensive. I've got 2 to 3 games, not including the Monday night game, for every single week from 1979 week 1 to the Super Bowl in 1989. I ain't missing no games. I'm going to sit down, and this is what I'm most excited about, to be able to sit down Sunday morning and still get my football, but get real football. To get a type of football that hasn't been in the league. Eric, how long have I been complaining about the softness of the game?
Oh, geez, how long have I known you? I would say probably 6-7 years, maybe longer.
Right. I would say. But the one thing I'm not going to talk about is the softness of the game in 1979. So to be able to sit there and watch games and just enjoy football in its purest form, evolving into what it will become Because by 1989, guys, there was nothing bigger than football. It captivated the entire country. And the 70s and 80s are why football has survived in its weakened state as long as it has now. So if you're like us and you're done with football, you can watch us because we're not done with football. We're going to go back, as Eric said, in Doc Brown's time machine to a better time.
I do want to add one more point. And I remember a show we did that we talked about Kaepernick. And Anthony's kind of blood was boiling, and you could probably see it on the video as well. And I actually talked to him very extensively throughout the week, and I was like, "Hey, we should talk about Kaepernick." No, we're not. We're not going to go political and make this show political. Blah blah blah. And literally, I probably talked to him 4 or 5 times to say, "Let's talk about it." That's what the people want.
Yeah.
Guess what, guys? Guess what? We don't have to talk about that now.
No.
Because if you go back in the history of the NFL, okay, there were no politics before. I mean, you could probably dig and be like, oh yeah, politics were here. Look at this. But the worst that's going to really happen, and if you guys know your history, is probably 1982 or 1987.
Yeah. I will say this.
What happened in those years?
I will say.
But it wasn't political.
I will say this. In 1980, when the Steelers and Browns were playing, there was a lot of talk about the 1980 presidential debate that was coming up that night. Because it was in Ohio where the Browns were playing. It was in Cleveland. That's where the debate took place. So they talked about the election, but they didn't pick a winner. They weren't saying Carter's great, Reagan sucks, or Reagan's great and Carter sucks. They were just informing the people that, hey, the debate's Tuesday. And, stuff's coming in. People are starting to file in for the debate tonight, or, this week. So that was it. And, yeah, there's some politics, but it's not really politics in 82 and 87. Those strikes that Eric's referring to are justified. To a degree, they were justified. And, yeah, there's the owners versus players element that we're going to have to cover, and we're going to, and we're going to talk about. But that's it. That's it. I mean, in 1984, no one talked about John Riggins saying "Sandra baby" to Sandra Day O'Connor in 83. Sorry, after the 1982 Super Bowl celebration, when he went to the White House and said that to Sandra Day O'Connor. It's a story we all know in football, but it wasn't talked about on there. The announcers didn't talk about it. And it really didn't get that much coverage from the sports side of things. Politicians talked about it. Hey, the running back for the Redskins, like political experts or analysts talked about it, but it never reached the football spectrum because it just wasn't a part of it. And that's what Eric said I'm piggybacking off of because I'm excited for that. Because Eric's right. We don't have to talk about it now. We can.
And there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no Instagram, there was no internet.
Nope.
And you know what? You know what happened if you're in the bathroom taking a dump while the fourth quarter was going on because you couldn't hold it? You missed it. You couldn't record it if you were recording it for some reason, and you couldn't rewind it. So you had to rely on whoever's watching with you to tell you how so and so scored.
Right. And fantasy football was an obscure thing back then. So they didn't have a chance to ruin the game. And it was a thing. Don't get me wrong, fantasy football existed back then, but it was in its infant stages. It was an obscure group of fans. Most of the fans didn't even know what fantasy football was. So I love it because we're going to be able to cover it from its purest. The first show that we're going to do is going to be a draft show. We're going to cover the 1979 NFL Draft, just like we would normally. And then the next show is going to be a preview show and a salute to Carl Rosenbloom, who unfortunately passed away in the summer of 79. And Georgia Frontier took over the team, the LA Rams. So we'll cover that, and we'll cover it the best that we can and give it justice to an honorable and great man. But what I'm also excited about, and I don't know if Eric, I'm asking you with this, Eric, so I'm going to let you answer after this, but what I'm most excited about is just to be able to go, okay, week 1, I'm going to sit down, I'm actually going to watch week 1 of 1979. I'm actually going to watch, the afternoon game of week 1. And then I got to go to bed and wait until Monday before I can watch the Monday night game. Even though I have it. And then, next week, we're going to do the show, we're going to prep the show, we're going to do and then sit down and watch week 2 of the NFL from 1970 to follow it lockstep with actual time. I'm so jacked. I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm excited, and I think it's going to be fun as heck for me to sit down and watch it that way. And I think it's going to be awesome for the fans because I think we already bring passion, but I think we can bring a level of excitement and enthusiasm to something that may not be or sound as good as it could turn out to be. Go ahead, E.
Don't forget to fast forward through the commercials. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm going to watch the commercials too. Some of them, that's the other cool thing.
Watch old commercials again.
Yeah, if I have them. A lot of the games, some of the fans will put those games up on YouTube with actual commercials still in them. And I'll tell you what, watching those Schlitz commercials, or just, the way, man, dude, we'll talk about that when we get to the Super Bowl, about the commercials. But I digress. Are you excited to follow it this way, Eric, or are you more, we'll see how it goes?
For a while I was like, do I really want to do this or not? Do I really just want to go sit and watch an old game? And, I may or may not know the outcome already, but this is actually exciting because, like I said, I'm not to the point where you are yet with the NFL currently, but this will just enhance my football knowledge moving forward. And it's going to be great to watch old-time hits again. Like, I can't wait to watch Singletary and Otis Wilson and Ronnie Lott,
Jack Lambert.
Just some of the hard hitting and like bone shattering. Like, you can feel it through the TV 21 or 41 years later.
And to hear the announcers get excited and go, put the stereo up, listen to this hit again on the sideline, and have them promote the hit. And, it was beautiful in its savagery, but it was also beautiful in its purity. And these players just bounced right back up.
And now you see a big hit, and you're like, and the announcer's like, oh wow, that's uncalled for. He could have easily pulled up.
Yeah. Oh, we're not going to show that again. We don't want to glorify that. What a terrible thing. And you're sitting there going, are you serious right now? But, you're not going to have that. And trust me, every big hit in every game will be highlighted. Because that's the game that we know and love. So, we are rebranding. So, Eric, I'm going to give you the honors. Let them know the new name of the show moving forward.
Well, we were talking about some names, and I hope you guys get what we're trying to say here in our new rebranded name. This is a shout out to a certain team, and I think you guys can all get it. But our new team name, or our new show name, Retro Football Knowledge.
There you go. Retro Football Knowledge. It's also a shout out to a man who attempted to run for president before his life was cut short. I'll let you do the math on that one. Guys, I'm excited. I ask you this. If you have your doubts, follow me down this journey for 1 year. You can still watch your football. You can still get your current football. Not saying don't. I'm asking you to tune in just like you've been doing for the last 4 years. Some of you longer. Some of you since LA Rams Central began. Tune in twice a week for a different time. And
I promise you guys soon, very soon, very, very soon, the phone calls will be interviews.
that's right, because a certain someone is moving, and it's happening. And I think it's going to happen sooner than later. So, I've got a tech guy who's willing to help me with this new rebranded show. He's a video editor on YouTube. I'm going to get his info for you guys the next time we do a show, which is probably going to be end of July, early August. Yeah, I've got an editor. We've got a shirt idea. We're going to have a logo design and up and ready to go. And those logos will be available on shirts as well and hats. And I'll get you that Venmo stuff. I've talked about it before. Oh, we're gonna have a thing where you can donate. Well, we're getting it. It's happening. So it's just a matter now of getting a new account, getting Eric and me hooked up on that account, so it can be a direct link. And with modern technology now, there's no reason. And any donation, $1 or whatever, is going to go to paying for the editor, paying for the shirts, and getting you a better product every time you tune in. And it'll get better and better. And I'm hoping by the time we get to the Super Bowl of January of 1980 to wrap up the 79 season, that will probably be the best video quality show we've ever made to that point. And it'll only get better as we get into the following year. So stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoy this rebrand. Give it a shot. I appreciate all of you that have followed me and for staying patient. God bless everyone. I hope you've been fine. I hope you're healthy in these crazy times. And just thank you for being there for me and for subscribing to the show. We may have a small community, but we got a tight-knit community, and I love every last one of you, from April, and Cliff, and MM Forever, to even those that haven't commented, so I don't get a chance to know your names, and everyone in between. E, take it home.
Yeah, I can't stress enough to go with us on this journey for at least a season. Okay? And granted, we always welcome feedback. Okay? We may get in a little spat every now and then, but you know we're all human. And you know what? Some of that's actually fun happening online, where you can be like, oh, I don't agree with this, but, well, here's why, and we can actually have an adult conversation.
Right.
Please, follow us. Anybody that you know who has loved football, but they may be younger than you, and you want to expose them to what 79 through 89 football was like, have them watch with you. Have them watch, on their own YouTube account. Subscribe, hit that like button. I'm gonna take that from you, Anthony.
Thank you.
But yeah, watch it. Call up your dad and be like, "Hey, Dad, do you remember the '82 strike shortened season?" And he'd be like, "Yeah. Oh God, that was crazy. What was going on?" Watch it with him. Have him watch us. Okay. We want to bring back the old school football fans who crave for the old school football.
Absolutely. And we want to expose...
And that's why we're going through it. And the more and more I talk about it, no joke, the more and more I talk about it, I'm more excited each and every time for this format that we're going to do.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Because we're going to be able to bring in the old, the new, and the consistent. And I want to reiterate that. Heck, I'll go a step further. If you really want, I'm going to be interviewing my dad and be like, "Hey, what'd you think of this season? Talk to me about this. What was your thoughts as a fan going into this game?" He's a Giants fan. We don't just have to interview former NFL players now. Okay? We're open to interviewing. I mean, hell, even Cliff. Have you call in and say, "Oh, let me tell you what I was thinking about this game." Again, without giving away the outcome, acting as if the game is Sunday and you're saying your thoughts on it. Mention that in the comments as well. We'll bring that up. I'm excited. And I can't reiterate what Eric said enough. He brought it home perfectly. Get him to watch. Give us a shot. I think you're going to like it. I'm Anthony.
I'm Eric.
And this is Retro Football Knowledge starting now.